Hello and welcome. My name is Erin Heilmeyer. I work at Bowling Green State University, but today I get to facilitate an OACAC presentation by the University of Vermont. We appreciate you joining us. Before I turn it over to our presenters, I just wanted to share a few points. First of all, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to click the Q&A button and submit your questions there so that the presenters will be able to answer those. Your camera and microphone are off, so the best way to communicate is through that Q&A button. We encourage you to sign up for additional sessions. You can find those on the OACAC website at oacac.org. And you'll also find a recording of this along with all of the other presentations that we're hosting through this series on the OACAC website as well. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and I will turn it over to the University of Vermont.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm excited to be here today, everyone. My name is Jessie Murray. I'm a Senior Assistant Director of Admissions at UVM. I've worked in the admissions office for a number of years now, but I actually am also an alum of UVM. I originally grew up in Michigan, so not too far away from where you all are, and I had an amazing experience at UVM. I couldn't imagine leaving this community, and now I get to work for the admissions office and share my love of UVM and my experience with folks like you every day. I am joined here today by a current student as well, so I'm going to let Miles introduce yourself. So Miles, do you want to take it away?
Awesome, thank you so much. Yeah, so my name is Miles McCallum. I use he, him pronouns. I am currently a second year here at the University of Vermont. I am a community and international development as well as a global studies major, so big social science guy. And I'm currently involved on campus as president of the Black Student Union. I do this, I help out with, tours, basically undergraduate admissions. And I do a little bit of research with some of my professors in community and international development.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Miles. I'm looking forward to hearing more from you in a little bit, as well as I'm sure some of the students watching are as well. To get started, we're going to give you a brief overview of the University of Vermont, talk about what makes UVM special and unique, and talk about the academics as well as our student life and our location within Burlington, Vermont as well. If you all have questions at any point in time, please feel free to, again, type them right in the Q&A menu option, and we will get to those. So to start it off, I'm going to show some nice visuals of our campus and talk a little bit about what makes us unique. So the University of Vermont is a medium-sized public research institution. What does that mean exactly? That means we have about 10,000 students, and we think it's a really great size to be able to offer those opportunities, connections, the networks of a larger research institution, while also really focusing on a close-knit community that our students can really share with our faculty and staff on campus. So it sort of has the feel of maybe a private liberal arts college, but also has the breadth of opportunities of a large research institution. Within that university, we have 100 different majors to choose from. So there's really a lot to kind of consider in terms of what you want to study. And all of those majors are housed within one of our academic schools or colleges that you can see on the screen here listed in the sort of yellow box. Everything from our engineering college to our business school to our liberal arts college, and really everything in between. So whatever it is that you want to study, you can find it at UVM and really make the experience sort of your own and tailor it to exactly what you want to get out of the experience. A number of our students will also either double major or have a major and a minor or a few minors to really make their experience exactly what they want out of all that UVM has to offer. We do also offer a number of accelerated master's programs. So if you're a student that knows that you want to eventually go on and get a graduate degree and continue your education, you can do so by staying one additional year at UVM and spending 5 years to get both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. So again, if you know at this point in time that you want to get a graduate degree, you can do that and really make the most of your time at UVM. One other thing that's really, I think, important to know about UVM, especially for students coming from Ohio and just other states outside of the New England area is that even though we are the State School of Vermont, we actually have the majority of our students coming from out of state. And that means we have a really interesting student body where lots of students have different interests, and it makes it a really vibrant community to be a part of. So you definitely will not be the only student coming to a new place or joining a new community. You're not going to be surrounded by people that know everyone, and I think we really attract students for that reason, that are interested in coming to a new place and really engaging in a new community and making the most of that time or their time at UVM. So I think that is definitely a part of the UVM experience that makes it so special. At UVM, we have a teacher-scholar model. So that means that our professors are leading experts in their field. They are keeping up to date with what's going on in their respective disciplines, and they are publishing research studies and in journal articles and all of those things, really kind of at the cutting edge of what's going on. But they're also really committed to teaching our students, and our undergraduate students especially. You will not see students in their first year only being taught by TAs. You will absolutely get to know your professors. Many of them you'll maybe even be on a first name basis with, just because that's sort of the culture that we have here at UVM. But they definitely become advisors and mentors for our students during their time at UVM. So these professors will be really strong advocates for you and great resources for you as you continue your educational journey. We also are a research land grant institution. So that means many, many years ago, the state of Vermont granted us land with the purpose of doing research for sort of the greater good for our community within the state of Vermont and even beyond that. So, that started out as having an agriculture college and being able to do research on agriculture, which is of course, like many states, a big part of our economy. But that extends beyond that into really all of the sort of purposeful education work that we do at UVM. So we do a lot of research on environmental sciences and sort of our impacts of climate change and how we can mitigate that. We do a lot of research on local economies and how we can support small businesses within our state, but then even beyond when we're looking at community development, as Miles is involved in. And maybe Miles can speak a little bit about his own experience with research in that sense. But it really does extend through all of our, or sort of permeate through all of our work on campus. And I think that's really just sort of a common thread that you'll see within our community, is that people really want to do something that matters and that has a positive impact either locally or even globally through what they're studying and what they're involved in. A lot of the classic characteristics of UVM are seemingly contradictory at first. So we are an old institution. We were founded back in 1791. So one of the first universities in New England back when our country was very new and young. But we also are really committed to investing in our resources and our technologies and our buildings to make sure that our students have the most cutting edge new resources available to them for their academics. Obviously, everything advances and changes so quickly in our world today that we want to make sure that we're keeping up with that, and that students are really having great access to everything that they might need. So we've invested in new buildings on campus, a new STEM complex, additions to our engineering program and our business school. We have a new residence hall on campus. We've updated our libraries, and we're also currently renovating our athletic facilities and campus recreation buildings. So really committed to making sure that our buildings are also keeping up to date, even though we have that classic sort of traditional New England campus feel. Big and small, I touched a little bit on this when I was talking about our size and how we sort of are that Goldilocks size right in the middle there, perfect size, not too big, not too small. But we have really those opportunities and resources of a larger school, while that close-knit community and that feel of a smaller community, a smaller school, which I think our students really appreciate. And that's definitely something that if you ask our students what they love about UVM, they'll often talk about our size. And then urban and open, the city of Burlington is a huge part of the student experience, and definitely is a great resource because it offers a lot of the amenities that you might want in a college town. So there's great restaurants and coffee shops and things like that. Always lots to do. Really great companies for students to find internships with and sort of network within the field that they might want to, pursue a career in. But it's also a small town. So it is not a giant sprawling city, metropolitan city. It is very much a small college town. And so students can easily walk around and get, downtown just by walking maybe 10 minutes. And if you drive right outside of Burlington, maybe like 10 minutes in either direction, you're going to be in a more rural landscape within the state of Vermont. So if any students are interested in hiking or camping or skiing, you absolutely have access to sort of the great outdoors and our beautiful landscape within the state of Vermont. So all of those things seem contradictory, but it kind of makes a really great quality of life for our students, a place to live and to learn. So there are a lot of things that really excite us, and hopefully, this college search process, I know it can be a little overwhelming and a little stressful, and maybe that's sort of taking over what you think about when you're thinking about the college process, but we hope also that it is exciting when you think about the possibilities that are available to you for your college experience. And hopefully you might be excited about, being independent for the first time and living in a new place, meeting new people, really getting to study something that you love. Maybe you're excited about studying abroad in college or living with a roommate. So there might be a lot of different things that you could be excited about. So just want to make sure that you're continuing to think about those positives as well when you think about college, especially during this stressful time of filling out applications and getting all your transcripts ready to go and all of those things. At UVM, I think the thing that excites us most is seeing the ways that all of our students really tailor their experience to make the most out of their time at UVM. And so that might mean students are really getting heavily involved in our 200+ clubs that we have, or maybe it's a student getting heavily involved in our medical school and our hospital on campus to take advantage of our pre-medical enhancement program. Maybe it's, again, a student that knows they want to get a graduate degree and is going to do that that accelerated master's program to really take advantage of their time on campus. Or maybe it's just students really, taking advantage of our internship opportunities or alumni network to make sure that they're gonna build that resume and be able to have success when they do graduate at the end of their 4 years at UVM. So we know there's a lot to be excited about, but those are just some of the things that we get excited about when we think about our students here at UVM. And now I'm going to talk, or I'm going to switch it over to our student here who's going to talk a little bit about things sort of from the student perspective. So Miles, do you want to take it away?
I'd love to. Thank you so much. Yeah, so one of the real hallmarks of being at UVM is really like learning by experience. And I think that's one of the things that I find just most wonderful and most incredible here. If you're coming here for college, it's really not going to be just coming to a new place and sitting in a classroom in a new place. Instead, really every program that you may be involved in, you're going to take advantage of Burlington and the surrounding area, and you're going to take advantage of Vermont. And you're really going to put knowledge to work. You're going to learn through experience. So I actually applied to this summer program just before my freshman year. So that was last year for me. And I got accepted, and basically I did an internship on Lake Champlain, which is the beautiful body of water that we have right next to Burlington. And I did that for a month before starting my first semester, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. It was a month of doing basically a lot of research around water security and water quality for Lake Champlain and specifically the Vermont side of Lake Champlain. Yeah, it was really amazing. I met two of my best friends who I'm still friends with through it. And I think more than anything, I learned so much, and every morning that I got out of bed, I was excited to go down to the lake to start doing my work, The work is really unique to where you are, and that's true of all the different kinds of internships and experiences that you can learn through here. To talk a little bit about some other things, this learning through experience takes the shape of internships, it takes the shape of research with professors, and it can take the shape in a ton of different ways here on campus. Yeah, it's a really incredible time. We can move on to the next slide. Thanks. No, you're good. You're good. All of our residence halls here are divided into learning communities, right? So all first-year students live in a learning community. And generally speaking, every student is going to live on campus for their first 2 years at least while at the University of Vermont. So I'm actually a resident advisor in Millis Hall, which is part of the Leadership and Social Change learning community. And it's really an incredible time. I think when you first come here, one of the most immediate things that's going to happen is you're going to learn how every single residence hall and every single learning community has its own kind of culture and vibe. And so after just like 3 months here, you'll meet somebody and you'll ask, hey, cool. What learning community are you in? What residence hall are you in? And they'll tell you, and you immediately know what kind of person they are. You immediately know what the vibe is. It's a really good time. And it's a really cool way for people to meet others who have the same interests as them. So in leadership and social change, for example, we do a lot of programs and we have a lot of support if you're interested in doing internships downtown, if you're interested in getting involved in UVM in the Burlington community in regards to building leadership and encouraging social change. So it really helps foster community and it really helps coming to UVM become a lot easier because you're immediately going to be plugged in with like-minded people. So another thing that's going to happen when you first come to UVM is you're going to pledge to uphold our common ground. And so our common ground include the values that are going to be on the left of your screen here. So that's respect, integrity, innovation, openness, justice, and responsibility. Just like we have a big focus on learning by doing, we're all about coming to college and doing college with intent, right? And I think that these values are all about that intent, making sure that we're coming here with a frame and with the basis of respect, integrity, innovation, openness, justice, and responsibility. And it really ties the community together, right? Every single class that you take, every single club that you join, every single activity that you get involved in, these common values, this common ground is going to be our basis. So on that note, we have some specific ways that we like to uphold this and that we like to make sure that we're striving to reach those values. So on the right of your screen, we have some campus identity centers. So the Mosaic Center for Students of Color is for students of color coming to UVM. I'm president of Black Student Union, so if anybody has any questions about that at the end, I'd love to talk more about the Mosaic Center. We have the Prism Center, which is for LGBTQ+ identifying folks. Again, it's really great. All of these provide really important support spaces and really make sure that as a community, groups that may otherwise be excluded or marginalized are able to be included in the community and are able to have good spaces. So we have the Interfaith Center as well, which is really awesome. It's actually just like maybe 500 feet from where I'm sitting right now, which again, it provides a space for students to explore their faith, or also if they already have strong ties to a faith, if that's a strong part of their identity, they have a safe space, pardon me, to be able to practice that and feel supported. And finally, the Women and Gender Equity Center is another really important and really great identity center on campus. And it's important to note that all 4 of these centers do great work in integrating themselves and have support from the administration in being integrated in the community of UVM as a whole. So they're not cut off, they're not their own separate spaces, they're really integral parts of UVM. And finally, when you're selecting classes, we have 4 requirements that include diversity, sustainability, quantitative reasoning, and foundational writing and information literacy. which all make sure that no matter what you're majoring in, you have a really holistic class selection, you have a really holistic background that helps us uphold those community values. And finally, for me, Burlington is just like the coolest city on the planet. Just like Jessica mentioned, it's no more than like a 10-minute walk, no matter where you're staying on campus. And it is just one of the coolest little cities in the world. I personally am really into the music scene, right? So last year, that means I just went to a ton of shows. I met so many cool people. And I met so many amazing local artists. As I'm sure many of you guys can imagine, that's different this year, right? We can't really have those kinds of gatherings. That's not permitted by state ordinance here. And it's also just not something that UVM students are trying to do. We want to stay on campus. We want to be safe. So people aren't doing that. And I have just been so impressed and happy by how local artists have been able to shift online to virtual streaming services and still making their presence known. And that scene is really still going on. For me, that's a huge part of the city. Again, if you guys have any questions at the end about anything relating to Burlington and what it's like, let me know and I can speak my best to it. But that's all from me. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Miles. And just to kind of wrap up here, all the things that you've heard about today with our focus on experiential hands-on learning and our focus on teacher-scholar model, where you're really going to get to know your professors and really going to be able to work closely with them, our focus on community and our community values and how close-knit it is, all of those things really make for an amazing four-year experience. And it also really sets our students up well for success after they leave UVM. We are finding that our students are graduating and moving on either to continue their education at a professional level or a graduate level, getting into medical school and law school and vet school and all of these types of competitive programs, or applying and being very competitive for Fulbright scholarships or Rhodes scholarships and those types of experiences. But we also know that our students are finding jobs, and they're finding jobs that are meaningful and satisfying to them. So the preparation that they're getting at UVM and the connections that they're making, the resumes that they're building are really leading to a great investment for that individual's future. And we know that that's our biggest commitment. That's our most important thing at UVM, is really thinking about our students and their future. And so we know that it is a really great investment for our students. To touch a little bit on the admission side of things, as you all are thinking about the college process, we do have two different ways that you can apply. So we are on the Common application as well as the Coalition application. So both of those are online platforms, and we do not have a preference as to which one you want to use. You can use either, whichever one you prefer, or whichever one you've already started an account with is fine with us, but we do have those two platforms to choose from. We have early action applications and we have regular decision applications. Early action is a non-binding agreement, so you are not contracted into coming to UVM if you get in early. It really just allows you to apply early and to hear a decision from us earlier as well. So that early action deadline is November 1st, and you'll hear a decision from us by the end of December. Usually the deadline or the release date is in mid-December sometime. When you hear your decision from us, you will also hear about any merit, not only your admission decision, but also any merit scholarships and also the Honors College invitation if you are eligible for those. So all of that information will come in the same notification of your admissions decision. If you apply regular decision, maybe you're not ready to, with all of your materials by that early action deadline of November 1st, our regular decision deadline is January 15th. And you will have the opportunity to apply by January 15th and get in all your materials. Then we will release your decision by the end of February. So that's kind of the timeline. You still have until May 1st to make your decision, either for early action or regular decision. So early action, again, just gives you a few additional months to sort of weigh out your options and see if UVM is the right fit for you. We have a holistic review process at UVM, which means we're going to be looking at not just, a test score or a GPA when we're looking at you for admission. We're really digging into your application to understand whether or not you're going to be the right fit for our campus community, and also whether you're, what your potential is for success on our campus. So we're looking at the courses that you've taken throughout high school, how you've challenged yourself, how that correlates to the major that you're applying to, because we want to make sure that you're prepared to be successful in a particular major. So we're going to look at the courses and how those align with the major that you've chosen. For this year, we are test optional, so you are not required to take the SAT or the ACT. If you have had the opportunity to take one of those exams, congratulations. I hear it's hard to find one of those tests right now. So that's great if you've been able to take one of those exams. If you do feel your results are representative of your academic qualifications, you are welcome to send us those scores. However, if you don't think they're representative of your academic qualifications, or if you just haven't had the opportunity to take it, like many students nowadays, then we will not hold that against you, and we are still going to consider you strongly for admission, for merit scholarships, and the Honors College. So again, test scores are not required even for merit scholarships or Honors College invitation process. Our average GPA for our admitted students, as you can see on the screen there, is a 3.7 out of a 4.0 GPA. So that is not a minimum or a cutoff. That is our average. That is just to give you a sense of the types of students that are applying and coming to UVM. So we do have strong students that are applying and are coming to UVM. We have strong students that have challenged themselves and are doing well in high school. But again, we're looking holistically at it. So there's not a cutoff or a minimum. We are really going to dig into that application and get to know who you are and what you're going to bring to our campus beyond just that GPA. So that was a brief overview of the University of Vermont. I hope that was helpful for you all to learn a little bit more about our campus, our community, our location, our student body, and a little bit about the application process. I hope you all enjoyed learning and hearing from my colleague as well, one of our current students at UVM, and we would love to take any questions that you have. There is the Q&A feature right on the sort of menu bar. If you click that, you're welcome to type in any questions that you might have, and we can definitely answer those for you. So I will let you all have a second to type in any questions, and while that's going on, maybe I'll just ask Miles a question myself, knowing that some folks might be, taking some time to type in. Oh, looks like we do have a few questions already coming in, so they type faster than I thought. How would you describe the type of student that attends Vermont? I think we can actually both answer that question, but Miles, I'll let you answer first, and then I'll give my perspective as well as an alum.
One thing that I'd like to say, I totally forgot to tell you guys in the beginning of the presentation, I'm from Cleveland. So if you guys have any Ohio related questions, please feel free to let me know. As far as what kind of students attend, one thing that I am kind of most struck by, and I just think is so cool, is every student who attends is really engaged in something. Everybody has something that they're a part of or that they can do. Last year, and as I'm still meeting people as a sophomore this year, everybody has a passion that's facilitated by the university, whether it's facilitated through doing research, whether it's facilitated through an internship, whether it's facilitated through a club. They're able to really indulge and fully learn about something that they love. And I have met very few students who are apathetic. Everybody has something, everybody does something, and it really creates an incredible community and atmosphere. So
that is so funny that you used that word. Honestly, this morning I was talking to a student and they actually asked the question, who wouldn't fit in at UVM? And that was the word that came to mind, someone that's apathetic. So I'm glad you said that word too. I describe students at UVM very similar to the way that Miles just described them. I think there's a commonality in that everyone really is excited to be where they are and to be engaged and to be making the most of their time. But they also are really committed to their community and to making a positive impact on that community. And that can be like on a very small scale by mentoring local children in the Burlington area, or like on a very large and global scale by being really passionate about current events or climate change, or just a variety of other things that are impacting our world. So I think that's one sort of thread that goes throughout our entire community is people are really passionate about making a difference. And because of that, I think we have sort of a community that's sort of like full of change makers, activists, people that are just really committed to having that positive impact in a large way. So that's how I describe UVM students. The next question that we have is about ski clubs and if students get discounts at local ski mountains and resorts. So Miles, do you want to talk a little bit about that? I'm not sure if you ski, but you can maybe talk about it from the student perspective.
Yeah, totally. So we actually have our ski and snowboard club, I believe, last time I knew about it, I believe is now like the largest in the nation. I think that like Boulder in Colorado, University of Colorado at Boulder, I think they had us beat for a little bit, but I think we're back on top. But to answer your question, it's like the ski and snowboard club is like the biggest club, and I believe many of the ski mountains and resorts do have student discounts, and I know for a fact that through the ski and snowboard club, you can get discounts. So even if it's not individual, if you just have the little thing or you're on the ski and snowboard club system, you can go to a ski mountain, a lot of the resorts here, and be like, hey, I am a UVM student who is part of the club. Can I, and they're like, all right, here's your discount. And then you go and ski or snowboard. So.
Awesome. That is true. I think you're right. We did beat, I think we did beat Boulder a few years back. So that's exciting. It's definitely a popular thing for students to do just because we have mountains all around us. So it's easy access to get to the mountain. So can you talk a little bit about sports, both club and NCAA? What are the sports that students follow, and what are the most popular club and intramural sports? Miles, do you want to answer that?
I'd love to. I actually just started playing intramural soccer this year. It's so much fun. Oh my goodness, it's so much fun. So I would say that basketball and hockey are probably the most popular sports here. Those are the two sports that I know I have attended games for, both men and women's hockey and the men's basketball. So I'd say those are probably the most popular. One thing that I really enjoy is, it's about 10,000 kids, right? So you're gonna find somebody who's into what you're into. We have like a Quidditch team here, like everything's accounted for. But also with the diversity of students that come in, right? I believe it's like 76% out of state students, if that's correct. You have so many different sports teams that people support that sometimes just walking around campus, you'll see people either saying like, oh, great hat, or people kind of jeering each other if it's like a rival team. Yeah, I hope that gives an idea of what it's like. People are really big supporters of the Catamounts here. All of our teams, people show pride, and so.
Absolutely. And just to give kind of some numbers around it, we have 18 Division I sports, and which are the varsity sports here, and then we have about 55 club sports. So yeah, everything from Quidditch to ultimate frisbee to the more traditional soccer and hockey and basketball, all of the above. So that's a great way to get involved if you want to kind of stay involved in athletics. So we have a question about what services or programs are available to undecided students. Miles, did you come in undecided, or did you always know what you wanted to study?
I came in with one major and then actually switched it like my first month here. So.
Yeah, and that's honestly pretty common, I think. So I think what many students often are nervous about is like they're not sure exactly what they want to study, but they feel this pressure to have to know. And one thing that I love about UVM is that we really encourage students to find what they love, because we know students are going to be more successful if they study what they love. And so you might be able to, you might decide, yeah, I want to come in as one major, but then once you get here, you decide, no, this really isn't what you like, and you are actually surprisingly really interested in this other class that you decided to take on a whim. And students will, change their major just due to that. So it's very common for students to come in as one major, end up changing into another major, or just to say from the start, I'm not really sure what I want to study and I want to come in as an undeclared major. And that's completely okay. It is very supported. We do have undeclared major workshops. So for students that are undecided, to come and learn about the resources that we have on campus, and just to learn about all the majors that we do have. As I mentioned before, there's 100 of them. So you probably don't know all the ones that are offered. So to come and learn about those. But most importantly, we also have great advising for students to just kind of talk to a professor and say, these are what my interests are. These are the classes that I've done well, maybe through high school, or the classes that I enjoy now that I'm currently in. What might be a good fit? And they can kind of help talk you through that. I also think our current students are great resources. So when I was a student, I was undecided and I had no idea what I wanted to study, but I had taken Spanish throughout high school, and I was like, I want to at least keep taking Spanish. So I just started talking to the students in my Spanish class, asking them what they were interested in and what classes they were taking. And that's actually how I discovered a major that I didn't even know was an option, which was global studies. And Miles, I'm excited to hear that you're also a global studies major. That's what I ended up graduating with. But I didn't even know that was an option before when I applied to UVM. So it was really great just to hear from my fellow students about what they were doing and why they liked those programs, and then to be able to declare a major after that. So just want to reassure students, though, that there's lots of opportunities to explore your interests, and there is time to explore those. I guess one sort of exception to that rule is for any of our more structured programs. If you are thinking at all that you want to be a nurse, for example, or an engineer, or go into one of those more structured programs, I always encourage students to apply directly into those programs, start out in them, and then if they're not for you, you can easily switch your major and change it into something else. But it's a little bit harder to switch into those programs just because they are very structured, and have specific requirements that they have to take each semester. So if you miss one semester, then you're kind of already behind, whereas a lot of the other programs have a lot more flexibility. So if you're thinking at all about a pretty structured major and you think you might have an interest in those, start in those programs, and you can switch out if they're not for you once you are at UVM. All right, and the last question that we have up here now, and for others that are still on the line, feel free to keep posting more questions. We can definitely take more. But there's a question about COVID and the percentage of classes that are being held in person right now. So I'm not sure, Miles, if you know the specific percentage, but maybe I'll just talk a little bit about sort of the university's overarching plans and kind of how we've handled the pandemic in general. And then maybe you can speak about what the experience has been like for you as a student, if that works. So first of all, I will say at UVM, we've taken this pretty seriously. I think the state of Vermont has as well, has done a really great job of taking the pandemic seriously and making sure that we keep our citizens and our on campus, our students safe. And so we have some pretty thoughtful guidelines that have been developed over the summer after our students went back home in the spring, after we did send them home to go online in mid-March, I think, right after spring break. We took a lot of time to really create a thoughtful and detailed plan to make sure that when students came back to campus, that it was going to be possible to bring people back, but that it was going to be safe and that it was still going to be an engaged experience. And so we have a really thorough testing plan where students had to get tested before they even came to campus. And then once the day they set foot on campus, they had to get tested. And then weekly from then on, every single student is getting tested every week. We have quarantine sort of halls where certain numbers of our residential halls are isolation halls. So if someone does end up getting sick, they have a place to go that they can isolate so that they don't get others sick. And our results honestly have been amazing. As an institution this large, I'm so proud of our community for following these regulations and really keeping folks safe. And like Miles said earlier, our students know that that they're in it together, that it's up to them to make sure that they don't, that we don't get shut down. And so we have been able to offer, students to live on campus, and we've had the large majority of our students move back to campus. And we're figuring out how we can have clubs and activities, and we're still providing a lot of opportunities for students to connect, whether that's virtually or in person. But students are doing a really great job of following the guidelines that have been put in place, so that we can keep everyone safe. And I'm just really proud of how our students have done. So Miles, if you want to talk at all about like the class experience or what it's been like to live on campus, that'd be great.
Yeah. I was actually just checking the numbers. So out of the thousands of kids that we have on campus, so far 11 in total have tested positive for COVID. So that's 11 out of, I believe, like 4,600 kids living on campus. I can speak to, I was pretty nervous initially about coming back, because, UVM started a little bit later than some of these other schools. And we started to hear reports about these other schools and what things were like. And I think two things happened. I think UVM already had a strong, robust plan in place, right? Like they weren't gonna, they've proven to us that they weren't gonna let kids back unless they had a strong, robust plan. UVM was able to learn from some of these other schools, and students have been just fantastic in upholding the green and gold promise, which is what we call basically the agreement to like be safe, wear a mask, socially distance. And so I know that I've been, as somebody who was pretty anxious, I have just been delighted and amazed by how everybody's upholding safety and how everybody's taking it seriously. As far as classes go, I have 2 classes that are totally online. They have been going great. I think the professors still hold office hours and are very good about making sure that they're present and available, even in spite of not being able to meet in person, which is fantastic. And then my other 3 classes this semester are all hybrid. So basically I go in every other class session, and every other class session I'm online. And that's a great way to keep people safe, right? Make sure that classrooms are still de-densified, all of that, while still having a sort of engaging component. I get to go to class, I can still see my professors, and I get to walk around campus. And so it's a great way to make sure that just in general, not too many people are out at one time, that there's time and space to clean all the classrooms. And it really hasn't been a detriment to my education so far. I've been able to keep up, and I feel like the effort of my professors has been such that I'm able to keep up, and that I'm not at a disadvantage because of new guidelines and new ways of doing things.
Awesome, thanks. That's so great to hear. And I know we have just a few minutes left, and it looks like we have just one more question in the chat. So we'll answer that question, and then we'll wrap it up. But we just have a question about the dorm setup and layout. So I just want to answer first of all by saying that we have a number of different residential buildings, and all of them are a little bit different because they were built at different times, added on to the university. So each one is a little bit unique. But the majority of our residential buildings are the sort of traditional style, where they're long halls with, sort of rooms on either side and common bathrooms that are shared amongst students. And then we do have some suite style buildings as well, where there are maybe 2 residential rooms that share a bathroom, or some that have maybe a few residential rooms with like a little common space and a bathroom, sort of like a little mini apartment. So there are some suite style, but the large majority of our residential buildings are those traditional style. And hopefully that's the kind of answering the question of like the layout of the dorm buildings. But there's lots more information on our website if you do have specifics, or if you have any other questions about like our kind of the learning communities and how we assign students to live with others that have those like-minded interests. You can learn about all of those things as well. So it's really been amazing to hear all your questions. Thanks so much for participating. I know we have just a few minutes, so I want to just thank you all for taking the time to learn more about the University of Vermont. I also want to give a huge shout out to Miles, who is a current student, is super involved as a leader on our campus and a residential advisor, and is taking the time out to tell you all about you know, his experience as a student at UVM as well. So thanks so much. It's always more interesting when folks can hear from a current student than just from me. So I appreciate your time, and I just want to thank you know, Ohio ACAC for setting this up, and for you all in joining us as well. Thanks so much.
Hi, thank you so much. I have one quick slide to share before we sign off. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So just a few reminders. After you close this window, you will have a quick survey that we ask that you fill out based on the presentation you just participated in. We encourage you to sign up for additional sessions and checking those out at www.oacac.org. And as a reminder, this was recorded and will be available on the website, as well as all of the other presentations that OACAC is hosting. So thank you again for joining us, and good luck with your college search.